Hello everyone, I'm Colton, and welcome back to another video game analysis. I know it's been a minute since I've done one of these, but I love doing whatever I feel like at the moment. Of course I stick to the video essay vein, but I just like covering things that I really feel like at the time. I want to make sure I give y'all videos that I am 100% passionate about and that I can actually provide something new to. But I'm happy to do another gaming one. This one is over the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and it's also kind of over Dead Rising 1 because, initially I wanted to do that video, but then I saw this was coming out and I was like, well, it'd be better to just do both in one, pretty much. So, it was perfect timing. In this video, I'll cover the gameplay elements, story, survivors, psychopaths, and why I think this remaster honestly worked. And obviously, spoilers ahead, but the story is the exact same as Dead Rising 1. So I feel like it's kind of lame to say there's spoilers, but I have to say that anyway. So first I'm going to start off with the gameplay, and the mall of course is the first thing you'll notice. It has its stick still around. It's massive with the starting entrance plaza, Paradise Plaza, which you go through the most, the food court, which is your typical food court, Wonderland Plaza, the more vibrant one, North Plaza, the one that's still being built, outside area, and the Alfresca Plaza. And all the security places, of course, each adding different environments for your gameplay. Though you still have a lot of stores you won't remember, but some you'll see a lot, like the gun shack. You need to have that place on lock as they're by far the best weapons for fighting psychopaths, with the mini chainsaw and sword right under that. Every section kinda has their most important stores like that, but I'll wait for later to point them out. Though just know each one uses its environments decently well, with specific psychopaths or survivors for that area. My favorite is probably the Wonderland Plaza, as it's where a lot of action goes on, and it reminds me a lot of going to the Palisades in Dead Rising 2. Also in the outside places and underground system, there are certain things about them I'll get into soon. Most of the changes in the game are just qualities of life. There's no real story changes, and if there's any time changes for people appearing, it's very minor. The biggest thing I noticed is that Survivor AI wasn't so dog trash as the original. Dead Rising 2 Survivor AI was really good to me, and Dead Rising 2 off the record was even easier. But I understand how easy it could feel and how that could kind of take away from the gameplay. But the first game would have survivors that would make me just straight up not want to play anymore. But with this remaster, it felt like a good in-between. They still need your help and can be overtaken, but if you shout at them to keep running, they'll follow. Biggest thing to worry about is giving them guns because they'll just fight for some reason. Other than that though, they fixed that a lot. Also the combat just feels better, and also now Frank can move while aiming. It still baffles me how this wasn't in the first game, but it's one of the great fixes here. Also, as much as people may get on the graphics, I think its cartoonier side fits well with the absurdity of the game. It doesn't take away much for me. It reminds me of Resident Evil in some way, looking realistic, but not so much it doesn't fit the environment around it. Also, the loading is better, and even though the end section is bad, it isn't nearly as bad as it was in the original game. I will say one change they added was making nighttime ridiculously dark. I immediately noticed it, and while I can navigate fine, I do see why people wouldn't like it. It's so dark to the point where you really can't see much at all, and barely the zombies. The zombies are supposed to have glowing red eyes, and you can't even see that. They also changed the erotica image type to outtake, where it's a joke picture instead. Most of these changes are overall good, and there's just some aesthetic ones like the last couple, or to just remove controversial things from the game. Overall, they made me enjoy the game a lot more. Next, I'm going to delve into the different game modes. 72 hours mode is the main story mode of the game, and I'll delve in the story later, and overtime mode of course when we get there, but the certain gameplay of 72 hour mode consists of saving survivors, taking out psychopaths, and trying to find out exactly what's going on at the mall, while overtime mode is dealing with the repercussions of finding out. The time limit really adds to the game, as survivors or dealing with psychopaths can be missed if you don't make it in time. Overtime mode is more of a fetch quest until the last portion, but again, I'll say that for later. Then Infinity mode is where you have to race against the clock while fighting hordes of zombies. There are some restrictions on weapons, but other than that, this is mostly a sandbox experience. I will say, it felt slightly better than Dead Rising 2 off the records in terms of making you feel engaged with it. Overall, each mode helps provide something for each gamer to enjoy. This little vehicle section is short, but there are vehicles that can be found at the underground tunnel place and the parking right outside of it. One is a car, another a bike, there's a storage truck, and there's also the army car the convicts drive. They all can be wonky to drive, but it's not so bad. Also, you can take out so many zombies with them, it's ridiculous. I'd recommend using them when looking for queens, as they take out so many zombies that you're almost guaranteed to get 1 or 2 queens from even like a small group you run over. Especially in the tunnels, that is by far the best time to do it. But now, I'm going to go ahead and go into another huge aspect of the game, the survivors. In this one, I've decided to go over each survivor or survivor group. This was a lot, but hey, I wanted to do it. Jeff and Natalie Myers are found on the rooftop outside of the security room as soon as you start the game. You'll see the old man wandering around and you'll get him to join. Then you find his wife on the other side, and they both will hug, which gives you a PP chance, and they can be brought back. Bill Brenton is probably one of the goofiest survivors in the game. He doesn't have a mission and can be found behind a huge stack of boxes in the closet store. He'll try to casually go home before realizing there's literally a zombie outbreak. Yeah, he didn't even know. Aaron and Bert are annoying, honestly, and same with the next one on the list. Bert will try to attack you, but once you beat him up enough, he'll listen and join. Then Aaron will. Make sure to not hit him too hard, though, or use a sledgehammer. Don't do that. Leah is yet another super annoying survivor. Her story is sad as she lost her child to the outbreak, but she keeps crying about it, and you are holed up in this small jewelry store where a bunch of zombies file in. Though after begging a while, she'll agree to come with you, but you have to carry her because her leg is injured. Sophie Richard is a cool survivor as you find her when the convicts arrive. They get rid of her boyfriend, so then you have to go in, find her, before she is also removed from sentience. You can hold her hand all the way back and get it done pretty quick. Greg Simpson is actually super useful. Once you defeat the clown, we'll get to later, he appears and shows you to a shortcut from the Wonderland Plaza to the Paradise Plaza, which is much needed as it's the farthest. He then joins Otis and standing beside the vent door. You and Shinji end up being Japanese tourists that cannot speak English, so you have to pick up a rudimentary Japanese magazine to speak basic Japanese to ask them to come with you. They make fun of you, and one seems not to trust you before they are like, hey, we'll go with him, why not? David Bailey is found in the North Plaza injured from the mad store manager Steven, who comes into play later, and he's just another older fellow you have to walk back to the safe house. Tanya and Ross are interesting as they're lovers, but Ross is injured and has been bitten. So he tries to get you to walk Tanya away and hand him a gun so he can do something YouTube wouldn't like me to say. And he literally will if you hand him one, and it gives you like a PP chance, which is terrible. Yeah, so don't do that. After talking with him a lot, you can convince him to come with you, and you can walk him while she'll follow you, and they both can be saved. Josh, Barbara, and Rich can be saved after defeating Cliff Hudson, a psychopath I'll get to later. They're jailed up in a store that you can open with a key, and you of course walk them back. Heather and Pamela are sisters, and you can find them in the Paradise Plaza right near the security room exit. One is surrounded by zombies, and the other is crying in a store. You can save Pamela, which you have to be careful to not hurt her too much because she has so many zombies around her they'll do so much damage. And then you can walk her to Heather and get her as well. They're a cool, quick one to get through. Gordon is in a hardware store in the Alfresca Plaza. He pretty much is just scared and you need to hit him to snap him out of it, and he'll then come with you. Ronald is mad annoying. You just have to get him food, as when you find him he's looking for it. You give it to him and he'll then join you. But later on in the security room, you need to bring him food again, or he'll lead a group of your survivors out of the security room and they'll all be lost. Like, bro, you weren't surviving on your own. Why are you doing that? Jennifer Gorman is the first survivor you save from the Raincoat cult. She is literally about to get sacrificed in a box, but you can save her and take her out of the box, and then quickly lead her back. Kay, Lily, Kelly, and Jeanette are all locked up in a store by Joe Slade, a cop psychopath, which, again, I will get more into those fights later. But as for the survivors, they will get attacked by Joe the longer you take during the battle. You need to get rid of Joe, and once you do, you can free all of them from their cuffs and then lead the big group back. On the way back from them, you'll probably see Sally and Nick. Both are hanging from the blow-up animal in the Wonderland Plaza. You just need to non-lethally throw something at them and they'll fall and join your party. Wayne Blackwell can be saved after defeating the sniper family you have to deal with, and he's just holed up in a store in the entrance plaza. While also there at the same time, you'll find Jolie and she won't join your party when you first talk to her. You then can start leaving the store and she'll join. Then you can walk over to Rachel and you'll get her as well. They're pretty convenient to get at this point. Same with Floyd here. He's literally, like, all these people are here all at the same time. He's in the entrance plaza as well. And he's talking about all these antiques in the store and how if he passes away, he wants to, go there. But after talking a lot, you can convince him to come with you. Once midnight comes around on this day, you'll see Kendall, who is one of the more annoying survivors yet again. He will shoot at you with his shotgun until you get close enough, and you then have to argue with him for him to come along. Also, once he's saved, he'll try to betray you, taking people with him out of the safe house. But you can squash it by coming back and shutting it down. It's just ridiculous how annoyingly persistent these people are. Like, just chill out, bro. I literally just saved you from being in the middle of a whole bunch of zombies. Like, Cheryl, Ray, Nathan, Michelle, and Beth are all saved by taking out the psychopath Sean. Cheryl is my favorite because she also has a request later that's pretty cool. And it's not like, I'm going to take all the survivors outside if you don't do it. They're a big group you get from the fight in the movie theater, and you can get them all back pretty quick. Jonathan, Alyssa, and Brett are all in a gun shack later on. They will shoot at you when you first walk in and are supposed to stop if you walk out and walk back in. But they were a little bugged for me for some reason, but eventually they stopped. You need to make sure to bring a picture of the safe house door to prove it exists. If you have this, they'll then come with you back to the safe house. Gil Jimenez is a drunk guy you have to chat with. He'll keep saying how he doesn't care to be saved and how pointless it is, but once you start leaving, he'll be like, "You're really gonna leave?" And he caves and you get him. Bottom tier survivor, for sure. Mindy and Debbie can be saved from the fight with Paul Carson. He also can be saved, but since he's a psychopath, I want to hold off on him for that. Anyways though, they both are being terrorized by him, but once you stop him, you can get them from the stall in the Casual Gal store. You can then lead them back. You can find Leroy injured in the Wonderland Plaza in the evening. You just have to once again convince another guy that even though he's injured, he should come. Then you can of course help him out. Susan is an old lady that can be found on top of the soccer ball in the Wonderland Plaza. She's completely surrounded by zombies, but you can go and save her from them. You can then walk her back, of course. Tad Hawthorne can only be saved if you do a few things. You have to make sure to do Kent's photo challenge and also show up on time when he says he's going to take a better picture than you. If you show up too late, Tad will be turned into a zombie, and Kent will make his fight harder. Though if you show up in time after you beat Kent, you can take off Tad's restraint and walk him back to the security room. Simone is the last standard survivor in the mall you have to escort. She is nearby the exit, but she'll only come with you if you have found out Isabella is a medic. Then you can bring her back. Also, she has a mission later to bring her a gun, just so she can feel safe. After that, you're done rescuing each survivor, and while I do always enjoy this aspect, in this game sometimes it can feel kind of ridiculous. Especially having to convince so many of them to even come with you. Like, that's fine for 1 or 2, maybe even 3, but I mean, it has to be around double digits in the amount of them that do this. You just have to plead way too much. But overall, it's not so bad, and they cause you to interact in a lot of different ways, especially with the environment. They're all hiding in these different crevices or different places, and they utilize it pretty well. Next up is Psychopaths. You have to fight Carlito in 1-2, 2-2, and 7-2. I'm not going to go over him too much as it's part of the story, but he is the main antagonist. His first fight, he has a SMG in the food court. The second time, he has a sniper in the entrance plaza. And the last one, he's driving around with one of the trucks with a bomb. None of them are too bad, and you have to do them to progress the story. Cletus is a hit guy found in the gun shack. You'll try to calm him down before you completely blast a random guy. You then have to fight him and have to try to dodge him shooting at you. If you run behind the counter, he'll throw you. But you can hit him from the side you're on anyway, and he's good to get rid of though because now you can get guns with no issue. He doesn't have a mission, You just have to run in on him at the time he's there. The convicts aren't really a psychopath, but they still kind of fit it. They get rid of Sophie's boyfriend and they'll drive around in an army car with a turret. They can be taken out best by hitting them with range. Adam McIntyre is a clown in the Wonderland Plaza, and he's probably the most popular psychopath in this game. He has a ride cut on and had people trapped on it. But you can see he's a complete loon as he has dolls of children on it. Once you get it to stop, he tries to attack you with his mini chainsaw, and he has different attacks such as different slices with his chainsaws. He'll jump at you, and he'll blow fire at you. He's not too bad though, and once he dies, you can save Greg and also get Adam's mini chainsaw. Stephen Chapman is the manager who attacked David. He has Isabella in this shopping cart he tries to attack you with. You must beat him to continue the story, and he's pretty simple. He just tries to shove the cart at you, but can easily be beat with range. Cliff is a veteran with PTSD, and in the original game, he said some controversial things. But in this remaster, they changed it. He seems to think some zombies and people are moles trying to get information from his group. He traps 3 survivors and has bodies hung up in the building. He fights you with a machete, dynamite, and also goes through trap doors. Range is a blessing against him. He's not too hard. Once he's done with it, he kind of snaps out of it and hands you a picture of his family who are all taken by zombies. Pretty dark. Joe Slade is a mall cop who abuses her power by attempting to kill girls who she thinks are pigs. This seems to be due to her insecurities. She does a lot of damage, but slowly during her fight, she'll attack the 4 survivors you need to save. This is why you should do it as soon as possible. She walks slow, and her attacks can just do a lot of damage. Though when you get rid of her, you can save the 4 girls. The Hall family are a father and 2 sons with snipers. The father and one son want to attack you, while the other doesn't. Once you take the other 2 out, if Thomas is left, he'll seem to give up on the ground, but you can't save him as he wants to be with his family. You then can end him. Sean Keenan is the leader of the Raincoat Cult and has 5 people trapped in the movie theater. He moves around quickly with a sword, and you need to keep some space from him. He can be dodged decently easy, even though he can jump through the movie theater pretty quick. Once he's defeated, he'll walk up to the statue and it'll plunge a sword into him. Also, there's a blob of the Raincoat Cult you have to fight after this. Though after this, they'll stop spawning and you can get the survivors. Paul Carson is an interesting psychopath as he can be changed into a survivor. He has the 2 women I discussed before trapped, and he tries to attack you with bombs and Molotovs. He's mad because they seem like the type of people who would bully him. Though once you beat him, he catches himself on fire, and you have to use a fire extinguisher to put him out. Doing this will turn him into a survivor, and he'll give you a gift later for letting him have a chance to change. Kent goes from what you think is an eccentric, super weird dude to an absolutely despicable human. You have to make a better outtake photo than him to complete his first mission. He then will say to meet him the next day at noon, as I have a better picture than you. If you get there on time, you'll find him trying to turn Tad Hawthorne into a zombie. He wants to capture an image of someone turning. You can stop him by getting there on time, and he has some weird moves. A lot of it's acrobatic based, and he can do big chunks of damage, but there's plenty of orange juice nearby, and you can take him out to save Tad. Larry Chang is a butcher who captures Carlito. You must defeat him to continue the story and attempt to get Carlito. He'll attack you by running at you, throwing meat at you, whoa, hold up, throwing knives, and more. He can do a lot of damage, so watch out for that. I used a lot of range to deal with him, and once he's defeated though, you can get Carlito right after that. Brock Mason is the final boss, and I'll get more into how he fits in the story later. But he's an army dude, and you have to fight him on top of a tank. I fought him barehanded, and you literally do some WWE moves on him. After doing 2 signatures and a finishing move, he'll fall off into the zombies. So this is where I'm going to start delving into the story. Case 1 is pretty much getting you all set into the routine of the game. You end up at the mall to investigate what's going on as Frank West. Your helicopter guy starts getting ran off by the military, so you jump out to stay at the mall. Once you start investigating, you meet a mysterious guy who definitely doesn't come back later, and once you go to the entrance plaza, you'll meet some people trying to barricade the mall doors. Frank will then go back and see an old man walking through yelling at him for something. But then he leaves. Though after this happens, an old woman lets all the zombies in because her dog is outside. She literally causes all of the people to get eaten because of this. Like, what? And after that, you can run with Brad to safety. Once you get back to the security room, you get introduced to Brad, Jesse, and Otis. You'll also learn that you'll be using the vents from now on to access the mall. Jesse will also cave to telling you that the guy you found before was important to an investigation. You'll then have to meet Brad at the food court as he's getting attacked by the mysterious guy from before. His name is Carlito, and he's believed to be associated with what's going on. After defeating him, Brad will tell you that him and Jesse are DHS agents, there to investigate what's going on. Carlito does get away though, but you and Brad go to find Barnaby. He also opens up the gate to the entrance plaza, and he'll find Barnaby, but he won't come unless he can have more backup to be escorted. You then go back to the security room to confirm you're going to work with Jesse and Brad during this. Case 2 just starts with them seeing Barnaby again in the monitor, and you have to go save him in the mall. To do this though, you have to get him down from being roped over zombies. Carlito is sniping at you, and you must defeat him to get the professor. Brad ends up getting injured in the process, but then you can head to get medicine for him. This is where you fight Steven, which also saves a girl who becomes more important later. But you also can now access the pharmacy. This allows you to get first aid for Brad. You then can go back to the security room and talk with Jesse. Case 3 has Brad recovering, and you find out more about what Barnaby has done, but not quite everything. Case 4 has you meeting the girl from before again, and she's seen driving on a motorcycle, and you can go to the North Plaza to find her. She'll fight you, but once she's defeated, you'll find out she's Isabella Keys, Carlito's sister. She claims she'll get Carlo to meet with you and stop, but she ends up getting shot as you find out right when the case starts. When you find her, you have to carry her back to the security room as she now is willing to help you. When you return with her eventually, she'll talk about Santa Cabeza at the start of case 6, a place where scientists from America tried to produce more meat from cattle. This was being done with the experimentation that led to zombies. Barnaby completely admits to this as he starts turning. This explains why Carlito is such a maniac, but it obviously doesn't excuse it. Barnaby turns, and Brad glacks him as Isabella tells the story to Frank recording. In case 7, you find out that Carlito plans to bomb the area with bombs he has placed in the maintenance tunnel. You then have to get over there to gather all the bombs, while he also tries to attack you from a vehicle. You can gather all the ones around before defeating him for another one. You'll get it, and Brad will follow Carlito. They fight before Brad gets left in a room filled with zombies, and Frank doesn't know as he gets called back to the security room. I wonder what happened to that man. Bro went out. That's a L. I'm sorry, bro. Case 8 has to deal with Isabella explaining that Carlito has a jamming device and secret hideout in the mall. You end up finding the jamming device Carlito installed to prevent communication outside of the area. The hideout is in the North Plaza, though when you find it, Isabella doesn't know the password to open the computer to stop it. Jesse then sees on the monitors that Carlito has been caught by a butcher guy and dragged into a room. You then go down to the maintenance tunnels to find the butcher's room. You then do the fight and have Carlito cornered finally. Though he explains his story, he doesn't admit much. He's just super resentful towards you and the rest of America, and it seems hope may be lost. The facts. After this, you can return to Isabella to tell her what happened, and both of our characters are kind of just down not knowing the password. But it comes to Isabella, and she breaks through. This allows her to shut down the jammer, and Jesse then can contact headquarters. Doing this, though, doesn't yield much good. They end up saying they just want to exterminate everyone, including the living people there, if they don't comply with not telling the story. You'll then see cutscenes of special forces coming in before one goes to Jesse. She seems off before turning into a zombie and taking a couple of them out. It literally seems that all of them got taken away, except Otis miraculously disappeared at some point in time. Really don't know when. You'll find Jesse in the zombie state though when you get back, and you then can head up to the roof to leave. You then can wait on the helicopter, and your partner will seem to be coming back before a zombie is in the helicopter with him and causes him to crash. Frank, distraught, falls to his knees and seems extremely off. It seems, especially now, that all hope is lost. But if you've done what you needed to do to this point, overtime mode starts. Isabella will find Frank at the heliport and save him. She'll take you back to the hideout, and what she realizes is that based on Frank collapsing and losing memory, he must be infected, though he hasn't been taken over. Isabella does think, though, if Frank gathers some supplies, she can make a suppressant. You then have to fetch a lot of different items all over the mall, while the army tries to attack you. I honestly got very annoyed at this part of the game, as I got captured about 3 or 4 times and had to do this helicopter minigame to get out. You have to wiggle out of restraints while the 2 army people aren't looking at you. And you also lose all your weapons and clothes, except your underwear. They can also stun lock you extremely easy, which is definitely the most annoying part. And they have a lot of health. Just all around, very annoying. But once you get all the supplies, you then have to get 5 queens. I did this by using a vehicle in the tunnels. While you're on your way doing this, you'll come across the clock tower where the helicopter crashed. There's a huge pathway that may not have the army covering it, but it's filled to the brim with zombies. When Isabella makes a suppressant, she also makes a repellent she's not sure if it works. She also only has 1. You'll both go to the clock tower before entering. She has the repellent, while you have to navigate her through. There are some points when you have to open a gate or survive until she does. Once you make it far enough though, you'll reach the end, but see there is some army presence there to stop you. You can open the final gate and then navigate to the buggy to escape. Though when you get in it, a tank will follow you. Taking out the tank isn't too hard. But once that's over, the guy takes over the tank manually and knocks you over. Isabella is on top of the car, while you have to fight the main guy running this extermination operation. He admits being a main helper in covering these things up, like in Santa Cabeza. You then can fistfight him before punching him straight into the zombies. After this, Frank screams full of testosterone after completing this absolutely Alpha Sigma act. I'm just kidding, but he does kind of do that. There's been some exposition saying how Frank and Isabella escaped to tell the story. And also she created Zombrek, and that's where the story of the Dead Rising game ends. It was overall a solid story with some wild points, but that's to be expected in a game like this. Overtime was a lot more than Dead Rising 2 in terms of how much you have to do, and there's many different elements. The story is pretty standard, but it fits the environment, and I think it's pretty fun to play. Originally, I thought this game was going to be some nostalgia grab, offering nothing but quote-unquote better graphics. And while yes, it does include that, it also had so many quality of life changes, I think it does the job well. It reinvigorates environments I enjoyed from the game a whole lot, giving them new life with different lighting. It also has survivors that don't get stuck on every single zombie. Moving while aiming was an obvious choice to fix, and overall it makes the game more of a mix of Dead Rising 1 and 2, which I enjoy. It's a blend, and maybe this could reinvigorate the series. It honestly died in the water after Dead Rising 3 was a meh, and Dead Rising 4 was god-awful. And they started going way out of bounds, and it just got terrible. The thing that made Dead Rising so enjoyable is gotten across well here. It's the mix of realistic but goofy physics, the annoying but memorable survivors, and the fun psychopath fights that make it all worthwhile. It's not just super realism or over-the-top ridiculousness, it has a blend of both, which could get any gamer into it. And if you want, you could just go around annihilating zombies if you feel like it. To me, the game is pretty much a sandbox. There's the story mode of it that provides a bunch of missions to do, and even the Infinity mode, which is a sandbox. And it's better than what the other Dead Risings like Dead Rising 2 Off the Record gave us. This remaster could again maybe revive the series, and this was a good step to me. One thing many game franchises fail to do is go back to their roots when they mess up. They double down on their idea and most of the time dig a bigger hole. But here they did something simple, reinvigorating a game that they made 20 years ago, and it's still good quality. They made a true defining remaster, and it was honestly an awesome nostalgia-filled run for me. I would very much recommend the remaster, as I truly do think that it works. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster was an awesome run through the past, and I hope y'all enjoy it too. And I also hope you all think I covered the game well. It's been a minute since I made a game analysis video, but I really wanted to make this one. I'm sorry if I'm a little rusty at it, and I tried to cover all the bases that I really could. But anyways, if you enjoyed watching, of course, leave a like, comment, or subscribe if you feel like it. It helps drastically. We're on the road to 1,000, and like that's a dream. I mean, right now it's a dream. The fact that I got above 500, it baffles me still, but you know, every time I try to keep those goals high. But anyways, I've been Colton. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe